What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's 2 weeks out from the Oscars. Last week, to keep up my sort of awards season stuff, I went back 10 years and redid the 2012 Oscars, because last year we did 2022, so 10 years back from that would be 2012. I know it feels weird because we're in 2023, so it's like, which Oscars do you redo? But technically the films that came out in 2012 were the films that had their Oscars in 2013. So I'm doing the right films. I'm doing 10 years ago. Anyway, so now I did 20 years ago. You're going to hear some Jaws. It's not Jaws, though. It's, I try to use a little bit more pleasant voice. This is the built-in Windows narrator. Neither of the programs are really that good. We'll see how this goes. So I'll just start at the bottom. And some of these are really interesting. It really showed me the first 2002 was a great year for movies for me. I realized, I was like, oh my God, there's so many movies in here. I think I put down like a list of like 30 films that I had to whittle down to 10 for Best Picture. And yeah, they're my personal choice. There's going to be at least one in there where I'm going to get some eye rolls, and I'm fine with that because I love that film and I've watched it like 20 times. So we'll get there when we get there. But right now I'm going to start out with Best Documentary Feature. Apparently I've only seen one documentary released in 2002, and that was Bowling for Columbine, which I believe also won the Oscar that year, and I'm giving it the Oscar again. It's actually the only documentary that I've watched more than once. Fun fact. I don't rewatch documentaries. I don't think it's the best documentary I've ever watched, but it is the documentary I've watched more than once. So, there you go. For Best International Feature, I've seen two films that apparently from that year that were international features. Y Tu Mamá También and Brotherhood of the Wolf. I barely remember Brotherhood of the Wolf, other than the fact that I remember I saw it. So I gave it to Y Tu Mamá También. And now, my better category, my much stronger category, is Best Animated Feature. The nominees are
Spirited Away,
Spirited Away,
Eight Crazy Nights,
Eight Crazy Nights,
Treasure Planet,
Treasure Planet,
Lilo and Stitch,
Lilo and Stitch,
Ice Age,
and Ice Age. And while I love and have seen, I've seen Eight Crazy Nights probably at least 3 or 4 times. I've seen Lilo and Stitch a little bit more than that, and Treasure Planet a little bit more than that. Probably those films are like 4 to 6, I'm gonna guess. I think I've seen Ice Age twice. I gave it to Spirited Away. It's a beautiful film, and probably one of the best films ever made. So I had no problem giving this to
winner, Spirited Away.
Spirited Away. Yeah, so
Best Animated Feature, blank.
Moving on to visual effects. The nominees are
We Were Soldiers,
We Were Soldiers,
Minority Report,
Minority Report,
Die Another Day,
Die Another Day,
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers,
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers,
Spider-Man,
and Spider-Man. Maybe not like a strong year. I kind of put Die Another Day down there, and then I wasn't actually really expecting it to make the final 5, but as I was cutting films down, I did remember that really cool sequence on ice with the cars, and I don't know how much of that was actually real. So I can't go back and watch it now. So, because I'm a blind film critic, in case you just got here. But I did see all these films back in 2002, and I've seen most of them a bunch of times. So I went with the winner for Best Visual Effects being
winner, Lord of the Rings,
Lord of the Rings,
Two
The
Towers.
Two Towers. Obviously, because duh. Yeah.
Best Visual of blank,
I shouldn't need much explanation.
blank.
Best Sound, and I went with current Dave's rule, so I didn't split the categories. So this is what would be the nominees for Best Sound.
We Were Soldiers,
We Were Soldiers,
Chicago,
Chicago,
Die Another Day,
Die Another Day,
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers,
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers,
Spider-Man,
and Spider-Man. And for Best Sound, I went with
winner, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. It's actually my favorite Lord of the Rings of the three. I actually like the Two Towers the best. I'm one of those weirdos.
Best sound. Blank. I'm Not Here from Treasure Planet.
These are best original song. I'm Not Here from Treasure Planet, which was originally sung by the Goo Goo Dolls.
Gangs of New York.
That song from Gangs of New York that apparently I couldn't be bothered to look up the title of the name of the song, but it was written by Bono, wrote the song from Gang. I can't remember it. It's obviously not going to win. But I think we all know it's going to win this category. If we remember back to 2002, then yeah.
Lose Yourself from 8 Mile.
Lose Yourself from 8 Mile.
Die Another Day from Die Another Day.
Die Another Day from Die Another Day.
Hero from Spider-Man.
And I nominated Hero from Spider-Man just because I needed a fifth song and I couldn't remember songs from that year. I remembered Hero being the song that played over the credits. I realize it's weird nominating Nickelback, but I totally own that. At the time, that song was dope for Spider-Man. So, yeah, this doesn't really matter because this was always going to go to Lose Yourself, which actually did win the Oscar.
Winner, Lose Yourself, 8 Mile.
I mean, I still sing that song today. I used to use that song to get myself hyped up for things. I used to just be like, you know, play Lose Yourself on my phone and to get me ready for something. So I think even though I can sing I'm Not Here because I remember it really well, no other song really broke through like Use Yourself did into the pop culture. That's like one of the best Oscar examples of we chose the right song from that year. Clearly.
Best Original Song. Blank.
Now the nominees for Best Original Score.
Minority Report.
Minority Report.
Gangs of New York.
Gangs of New York.
Spirited Away.
Spirited Away.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. I should say at this point that I remember one of the films I did not see that was on the 2002 list was The Pianist. I still have not seen that film, so if you're expecting it to show up in places, I can't vote for a film I didn't see. I'm sorry. There were some films where I felt like maybe I was a little bit of a failure for not seeing it, but the Pianist was the biggest one because I know Adrian Brody eventually wins up there, and so did it won for director. And can't do that. So, but the winner here for Best Original Score is
Winner, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man's original score. Sam Raimi, it's hard to go back to 2002 and actually remember what Sam Raimi did with the original Spider-Man and what it actually meant and what it kind of started. It kind of took what Bryan Singer did with X-Men and it really started like a whole new thing of comic book films. We moved sort of in a new direction of what things could be. And I think Sam Raimi really started that with Spider-Man, and his score for Spider-Man felt like you were in a comic book. And that was what was great about it. So I loved it. Coming up next is, I believe...
Winner, Spider-Man. Best Original Score. Blank.
I believe this is going to be Makeup.
Road to Perdition.
Or is this... What award is this? Whatever category this is Road to Perdition.
Austin Powers in Goldmember.
Austin Powers in Goldmember. I do think... never mind. This is costume design, I think. Road to Perdition, Austin Powers and Goldmember.
Chicago,
yeah, it's costume design.
Gangs of New York.
Gangs of New York.
Lord of the Rings, The Two
Lord
Towers.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers are the nominees for costume design. And the winner is...
Winner, Chicago.
Chicago, because those costumes are iconic.
Best Costume Design.
So I kept Chicago. I think some of those other costumes are pretty dope. I mean, I kind of remember the style of Road to Perdition very well. Goldmember, obviously, they went back to the 70s, and it had a very cool style for that time. So even though it's not my favorite Austin Powers, this is a craft award. So I would still nominate it down there. So anyway.
Blank.
Coming up next on the list is now, I'm sure, it's Makeup.
Gangs of New York.
Gangs of New York.
Austin Powers in Goldmember.
Austin Powers in Goldmember for all of the transformations that he has to make.
Chicago.
Chicago.
Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
And Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. And the winner is...
Winner, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Because, yeah, all of the various creatures and fights and stuff that they, yeah.
Best makeup.
Yeah, they all had to... Anyway, it's a great film for that.
Blank.
Coming up next on the list is... editing?
Road to Perdition.
Maybe production design. We'll find out. Road to Perdition.
Gangs of New York.
Gangs of New York.
Chicago.
Chicago.
Spirited Away.
Spirited Away. It's production design.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. And the winner is...
Winner, Spirited Away.
Spirited Away for Best Production Design. Yeah. I mean, if you've seen Spirited Away, this really should not come as a surprise. I got the idea to give this to Spirited Away because so many people were pushing for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio this year. And I was like, why can't animated films win production design? I mean, when they're really inventive and creative and they really sort of break the mold, why can't they be nominated? And then I was like, with Spirited Away, it's just... Hayao Miyazaki just nails it. He creates such a tremendous look in this film with his production designer that it's just, I don't know, it's tremendous. So, yeah. The design of that was fantastic. So, I was Spirited Away.
Best production design. Blank.
Now it's editing.
Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If You Can.
Panic Room.
Panic Room.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Minority Report.
Minority Report.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. And the winner for Best Editing is...
Winner, Minority Report.
Minority Report. I kind of remember a lot of the action sequences being kind of crazy. Plus it had the precogs coming back in. This is a film I love. You know, their visions coming in and out. So I was thinking about what is best editing? It's not, to me, it's not always most editing. Sometimes it's the best use of editing, and I think Minority Report definitely required a lot of it. So I went for Minority Report.
Best edit. Blank.
Coming up on cinematography.
Insomnia.
Insomnia.
Chicago.
Chicago.
Road to Perdition.
Road to Perdition.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
And Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. And the winner for Best Cinematography is...
Winner, Road to Perdition.
Road to Perdition. This film had such a beautiful look to it. I still remember it today. I think it was beautifully shot. It's very dark, but it's adapted from a graphic novel, and I think they kept that in mind when they shot the film. And it just... it's almost like the absence of light. It feels very like anti-cinematography in certain situations. I heard a lot of people talk about Banshees this year and how they used a lot of natural light. I feel like Road to Perdition used darkness almost as light. Yeah, it just I think it's a beautifully shot film. So from everything I remember from the couple times I've seen it, obviously I can't go back and see it anymore, so it's all from my memory. But when I thought about the visual striking elements of Road to Perdition, I went with that. So
Best cinematographer. Blank.
Best adapted screenplay.
Road to Perdition.
Road to Perdition.
Antoine Fisher.
Antoine Fisher.
About a Boy.
About a Boy.
Minority Report.
Minority Report.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
And Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. And the winner for Best Adapted Screenplay is...
Winner, About a Boy.
About a Boy. I love this film. This film grows on me, I think, every time I watch it. I definitely... This is a film for me where I feel like Oscars really let me down. I felt that way at the time, and I felt that way just with every continuous watch. I think it's a beautiful film. I think it's a great film, and I absolutely believe that About a Boy has a great adaptation of Nick Hornby's book. So I picked About a Boy, and I don't care. I'm happy with it.
Best adapted script. Blank.
Best original screenplay.
Blank. Death to Smoochie.
Death to Smoochie.
8 Mile.
8 Mile.
About Schmidt.
About Schmidt.
Gangs of New York.
Gangs of New York.
Signs.
And Signs. Yeah, I picked I threw Death to Smoochie in there, just as sort of my, I guess you could say like my triangle of sadness. Just sort of like the really odd film that deserves to be there based on concept. I enjoyed Death to Smoochie. I did. I thought it was quirky and fun, and it's the kind of thing that somebody just needs to go, yeah, you know what? Good job. You came up with something cool, something different, and it's not really represented anywhere else. I just gave it a screenplay nomination, but yeah. I'm happy it's there, and the winner for Best Original Screenplay is...
Winner, About Schmidt.
About Schmidt. Alexander Payne's script for this Jack Nicholson film. I still remember him writing to M'Baku, or I think that was the name of the kid. Throughout the course of the film, Jack Nicholson's narration. It's just such a great script. He's obviously dealing with loss, but he's also going out on this journey, and it's this dramedy, and yeah. So, About Schmidt wins.
Best Original Blank.
Coming up next is Supporting Actress.
Kimberly Elise, John Q.
Kimberly Elise for John Q.
Susan Sarandon, Moonlight Mile.
Susan Sarandon for Moonlight Mile. In case you don't remember these performances, because I don't think people remember these films, Kimberly Elise in John Q played the mother of a boy who was dying and needed help, and then her husband decided to take the hospital hostage, so she had to deal with the fact that both her son was dying and that her husband was in the middle of a hostage crisis. It's kind of a really underrated Denzel Washington film, and when I was looking for great performances, I noticed John Q for film, so I had it in a couple places, and I had Kimberly Elise down because I think she's such a terrific actress. It never gets recognized, and I was like, you know what, she was good here, in this, and I don't think anybody remembers John Q. Maybe I'll just throw this on the list and somebody will rewatch it. Susan Sarandon from Moonlight Mile. She played the grieving mother of a daughter. I really liked Moonlight Mile. It was Jake Gyllenhaal, Dustin Hoffman, Susan Sarandon. I really liked it. I thought she did a great job. So coming up,
Kim Basinger, 8 Mile.
Kim Basinger, 8 Mile for playing Eminem's mom. It's a strong performance from her. She's not a likable person. So
Catherine Zeta-Jones, Chicago.
Catherine Zeta-Jones, Chicago. Duh. I mean, she's the one who went on to win. Yes, I still nominated her.
Toni Collette, About a Boy.
And Toni Collette for About a Boy. I don't know how this didn't get nominated. She plays a mother struggling with mental illness and suicidal thoughts throughout the whole film. Her performance is pitch perfect. It is so good. I honestly, it just baffles me. Honestly, I would take anything out and put Toni Collette in. So my winner is...
Winner, Toni Collette,
Toni
About
Collette
a Boy.
For About a Boy. I'm like, I don't know. I don't even understand. I don't understand what happened. I don't understand what happened to the campaign. I remember About a Boy opened in like May, so maybe that was the problem. But I don't know how you can watch About a Boy and be like, no, she doesn't deserve to be in the final 5. Queen Latifah does, though. No, fuck you. Anyway, moving on.
Best Supporting Act, blank.
Supporting actor.
Dennis Quaid, Far From Heaven.
Dennis Quaid for Far From Heaven.
Denzel Washington, Antoine Fisher.
Denzel Washington for Antoine Fisher.
Daniel Day-Lewis, Gangs of New York.
Daniel Day-Lewis for Gangs of New York.
Robin Williams, Insomnia.
Robin Williams for Insomnia.
Andy Serkis, Lord of the Rings, The Two
and
Towers.
Of course, Andy Serkis for Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, because his performance is Gollum. How do you look at it and go, no? I mean, like, we talk about how motion capture work needs to be recognized. What we really mean is Andy Serkis deserves an Oscar nomination. That's what that really means. Robin Williams for Insomnia, I thought he was great. This is, he played a lot of creepy performances this year. That was a great film of his, Christopher Nolan. Denzel Washington playing the, I think Derek Luke's the lead of that. So that's why I put him in supporting. It does kind of feel like it's Denzel Washington's film only because he was the big name, but Derek Luke is actually Antoine Fisher. So, I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis for Gangs of New York. I think he ran in lead, but I think it was because of DiCaprio splitting his two films that he was in that year, Catch Me If You Can and Gangs of New York. So I do believe he ran in lead, but I have him as supporting because I think Bob the Butcher is obviously a supporting performance. So, yeah, I think all these make sense. But my winner is
Winner, Daniel Day-Lewis, Gangs of New
Daniel
York.
Day-Lewis for Gangs of New York, because Bob the Butcher is just such... I mean, God, Daniel Day-Lewis is... It's hard... He is a really good actor. Maybe it's you know, it's too cheap, too easy to pick him. But damn, he's good. He challenges you to not pick him. Easily one of the greatest actors that ever was. So I still remember his performance. I still think it's iconic. So
Best blank.
Best Actress.
Blank. Diane Lane, Unfaithful.
Diane Lane for Unfaithful.
Jodie Foster, Panic Room.
Jodie Foster for Panic Room.
Jennifer Aniston, The Good Girl.
Jennifer Aniston for The Good Girl.
Julianne Moore, Far From Heaven.
Julianne Moore for Far From Heaven.
Renee Zellweger, Chicago.
And Renee Zellweger from Chicago. What can I say about these? From what I remember, I haven't seen Unfaithful in years, but I do remember Diane Lane being good in that. And I didn't want to leave her off. I thought she was good in that. Renee Zellweger in Chicago, it's a little bit of a lighter performance, but it's a good performance from her. When you look at Renee's career, she was cute, and she was a great Roxy, if you're a fan of Chicago. So, I actually really like The Good Girl, and I think Jennifer Aniston really deserved more recognition from her performance in that role. I've seen it a couple times. It's got her, Jake Gyllenhaal, John C. Reilly. It's a great cast. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. Julianne Moore, Far From Heaven, is a beautiful performance. And Jodie Foster for Panic Room is that's a great thriller. David Fincher. She, you know, a lot of these performances were not nominated for Oscars, but I remember I've seen these films since then, and these are the performances that I remember coming out of that year. So I will say it was really hard for me to leave off my, like, where my heart was with trying to get Reese Witherspoon and Sweet Home Alabama in this category. It did not happen. I couldn't justify, when I saw the nominees she was up against, I couldn't justify leaving her in over one of these five. It was heartbreaking for me because I love her in Sweet Home Alabama. I realize it's not a lot of acting, and she's the rom-com, but that's one of my favorite films of all time. It's like a comfort film to me. So, maybe you'll hear it again somewhere. But the winner for Best Actress is...
Winner, Jodie Foster, Panic Room.
Jodie Foster for Panic Room. Yeah. Seeing her fight I thought, this is great. It's a great film. It's very underrated for David Fincher, but it's such a great performance from Jodie Foster. She's trying to protect her daughter. She's trying to get these people out of the house. She's trying to call people. She's trying to do whatever she can to fight back and to take control. And, yeah, I went with that. I think this went to Nicole Kidman for The Hours. I hated The Hours. Surprise. That's why you haven't heard it. I hated The Hours. Maybe I need to rewatch it. Maybe it just wasn't the right time for me. But I did not like it. I thought it was slow as fuck. So I couldn't nominate it anywhere. I'm sorry. I couldn't even find the good in Nicole Kidman's performance. I had her. She was like, when I was cutting it down, she was like 8th. You know, I was like, I can't have The Hours on here. I'm sorry. I can't even recognize her performance. Yes, I hated The Hours, and I haven't seen The Pianist, so changed the Oscars a little bit that year for me.
Best Actress, blank.
Best Actor.
Robin Williams, 1 Hour Photo.
Robin Williams for 1 Hour Photo. Yeah, I nominated him both times for both of his crazy performances. I think they're both great.
Kevin Kline, The Emperor's Club.
Kevin Kline, The Emperor's Club. This one's for me. I love this film. I thought he was great in it. Yeah, it's my party, and I'll cry if I want to. I love Kevin Kline, and it's more of a dramatic performance, so I can justify it more than Reese Witherspoon's performance. But I'm probably like the only person on the face of the planet that actually loves The Emperor's Club. I realize it's kind of just a knockoff of everything that came before it, but it doesn't mean it's not good. It doesn't mean Kevin Kline's not good in it. This is also kind of where that, we see Paul Dano and Emile Hirsch kind of getting their starts. So, yeah, I kept Kevin Kline in there.
Tom Hanks, Road to Perdition.
Tom Hanks for Road to Perdition. Well, he did not get enough love for playing against type. I thought that was a great performance. I know I didn't nominate his supporting cast, but I couldn't pick just one. When you get down to the supporting cast, you're like, Paul Newman, Jude Law, Daniel Craig. Can they all be nominated simultaneously? I don't know. Even the kid, so who's now Superman? Anyway.
Hugh Grant, About a Boy.
Hugh Grant for About a Boy.
Jack Nicholson, About Schmidt.
And Jack Nicholson for About Schmidt. Yeah, I told you I didn't nominate Adrian Brody. I didn't see The Pianist. I'm sorry. I haven't seen it. I know I'm bad. I know I need to see it. I just haven't seen it. It's not a thing. It's not a thing for me it's not like a Roman Polanski statement. I just never saw The Pianist. So, I don't know why. I just forgot about it. All right, so the winner for Best Actor is...
Winner, Hugh Grant, About a Boy.
Hugh Grant for About a Boy. In case you didn't realize, About a Boy was going to win some awards this year. I love this film. I do. And I love his performance. I think it's a great performance from him. I think it knows exactly what to, like, the best parts of Hugh Grant to use and to push him forward comedically, to push him forward dramatically, to push him forward... romantically. He moves forward in every direction, and I can't think of anybody else I would want in this role. And that's a great sign. I never want the film remade. I don't need anybody else ever in this role. The film is fine as it is. It's great.
Best Actor.
All right, Best Director.
Blank. Steven Spielberg, Minority Report.
Steven Spielberg, Minority Report.
Rob Marshall, Chicago.
Rob Marshall for Chicago. Obviously for Steven Spielberg, that means he had 2 films this year. I did like Minority Report a little bit better than Catch Me If You Can. Yeah, Rob Marshall for Chicago, he kind of set the tone for modern musicals. I know it still feels like kind of a nomination where you just go, what? But at the same time, he kind of set the tone for modern musicals. Before Chicago, they weren't really doing this. But he found a way to start staging them and making them cinematic and making them feel great. And he deserves to still be recognized for that. So I nominated him.
Hayao Miyazaki, Spirited Away.
Hayao Miyazaki for Spirited Away, because animated directors deserve to also be recognized when their film is great.
Sam Raimi, Spider-Man.
Sam Raimi for Spider-Man, for the same reasons I listed earlier about what he did, how he really set the tone and changed this little area forever. I think it's great direction from him. So the guy from The Evil Dead made a Spider-Man film. And it was great.
Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
And Peter Jackson for Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. I reject the idea that just because it's the middle film that he shouldn't be nominated. For me, that was my favorite film. Then Return of the King, then Fellowship. So he would be least likely to be nominated for the first one out of the gate from me. And the winner is...
Winner, Rob Marshall, Chicago.
Rob Marshall for Chicago. Just what I said. I don't know where modern musicals would be today if Rob Marshall hadn't taken the risk and hadn't gone out and done Chicago and set the tone and done such an excellent staging and adaptation of this work. I don't know what... there's a lot of things where Chicago didn't win the category, but it was like my second choice. It had great production design, had great costumes. So... this is obvious. I really hated this year too because I remember now this was a great year for Richard Gere, but none of his films did he make the final cut. He was in Unfaithful, He was in Chicago, and he was even good in the Mothman Prophecies. He had like 3 films where he was good, but not great enough to be in my final 5. I can't say they're like the best Richard Gere performances, but I did look at 2002 and go, wow, he had a really good year. So, anyway, Rob Marshall. All right, now here's my best picture list. These are a mixture of what I think are the 10 greatest, also along with my 10 favorites. So it's it's a mixture. And there's at least one film in there that's just for me, just for me. I don't care.
Best Director.
All right, so my top 10 are
Blank. Spirited Away.
Spirited Away,
About a Boy.
About a Boy,
About Schmidt.
About Schmidt,
Gangs of New York.
Gangs of New York,
Sweet Home Alabama.
Sweet Home Alabama,
8 Mile.
8 Mile,
Minority Report.
Minority Report,
Chicago.
Chicago,
Signs.
Signs,
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Yes, Sweet Home Alabama got a Best Picture nomination for me. Yep. Yes, it did. I love that film. I've seen it, I don't even know how many times. I really don't. I really don't know how many times I've seen Sweet Home Alabama. It's ridiculous. I need help. I need, intervention. The rest of the films are at least critically acclaimed, so even if you didn't think it's there, even About a Boy has, a positive score on Rotten Tomatoes. So even though I love it more than anybody else seems to, at least the critics agree with me that it was a good film. So, anyway, my pick for Best Picture of 2002. This was so hard. I was like 5 films I could have picked easily out of the top 10. I kind of just flipped a coin.
Winner, Minority Report.
I went with Minority Report. I love it. I think it's a great film. I think what Steven Spielberg did with it was fantastic. I think everything. I mean, I think it was just a little bit of a different thing for Spielberg, and just a great adaptation. So anyway, that's a look 20 years back. Let me know what you think. Are you really disappointed? Did I leave off your favorite film? This was a really hard year. I challenge you to go back to the 2002 Oscars. If you love film as much as I do, you'll realize it was a great year for film. A lot of films have actually really stood the test of time for 20 years, and made this category really hard. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And, I don't know if I'm going to go back 30 years. We'll see. But I definitely wanted to go back at least 20. So, problem is that I get kind of young when we go back, and then it's like, did I see enough films? Are they just going to be a bunch of kids' films? Am I going to be nominating? Am I going to be nominating like the Mighty Ducks for Best Picture or something? So, yeah, I don't know if I have. I don't know what I would have. I may go back and look at it, but this one at least I feel like I have films that go, yeah, he was an adult. He could see adult films, even if I didn't have all the films that you expected to be on here. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.